Hi, I'm Lisa Todd. Welcome to this week's show of end.formants, END.formants. This week we're going to be talking about Chris Dorner, the ex-police officer who's now hunting police officers to make his point and to prove his case. Not the way I would go about doing it. How far would you go as a whistleblower? How far would you go to protect your name? That's this week's End.formants. You can find us on Facebook. It's our world. Let's talk about it. Okay, we're recording. So anyway, we're going to talk about Chris Dorner this week, the ex-police officer who's now hunting police officers because he claims he was fired because of whistleblowing. Paula, what do you got to say about Chris Dorner?
I think Chris Dorner's a psychopath who is a big baby because we all go through problems in life and we don't go shooting up our brethren. And what I love about, he is like my favorite hypocrite. And I'll tell you why. He goes around this entire manifest saying how he hates bullies, yet when he's sitting in the police car with his fellow officers and they use the N-word, which is a very bad word, he jumped over the seat and he proceeded to strangle one of them. Then he tells us a story about when he was in elementary school and on the playground a kid called him the N-word and he beat the crap out of this kid. Here's the deal. I have been called every name in the book and the name kike, which is the equivalent, the Jewish equivalent of the N-word. I don't raise my hand. I don't beat somebody up. I handle it with words, with diplomacy. This guy is here's the issue. This guy has clear mental illness. He never should have gotten onto the police force.
He was in our armed forces first.
Okay, but the point, well, I know a lot of people in the armed forces that don't belong there, okay?
Okay, so you're saying that he shouldn't have been in the armed forces either.
All right, he shouldn't have been. Okay, this guy is a psychopath. The fact that he passed the psychological evaluation of the police academy is really scary. And here's the thing, okay? He's a liar because he's saying how the LAPD got his Navy record, did away with his Navy accolades, his military clearance. What does the LAPD have to do with it? I mean, if they that has nothing to do with it. The guy has so many inconsistencies in his story. It's not even funny.
Well,
okay?
You know that
and wait a minute. Wait a minute. And what I find hilarious is how he makes it all about racism, when if you notice, he literally lists every ethnicity and group in his manifesto and takes pot shots. First he's calling lesbians man-haters. Then all of a sudden he's wants lesbians to get equal rights. Then he's on the side of Chick-fil-A. Then all of a sudden he's bashing I'm surprised he didn't take a shot at the island of Lesbos and pygmies living in Australia. I mean, this guy is obviously a psychopath. And you know what? I just can't wait until some sharpshooter with more training than him gets him and takes him out.
Well, you're aware that the LAPD is now investigating his complaints that he made, and it's only after this.
Good. Look, you know what, Lisa, here's the thing. None of us really know the truth because we weren't there. It could all be lies. I'm sure there's truth to it because I'm sure that there's a lot of cops that act that way. I'm sure. I've seen it. But here's the thing. You don't go blow their heads off because, you know what? When you become a whistleblower, you know the risks. I was a whistleblower and I knew the risks and I went into it with my eyes open. Okay, I'm sorry that he got fired or he was worked out of the department. You know what? Deal with it. And what really galls me is he's not even killing the people that hurt him. He's killing their families.
Listen, I don't think that that's the way to handle, somebody doing you wrong. But I do think that his manifesto, with the exception of naming everybody in the world, I do think that his manifesto showed some merit. So, Deborah, have you read the manifesto? Do you have any?
Yes, I did. I think he's someone who, in his eyes, has endured racism ever since elementary school. He said something in there about being the only black student all the way through 7th grade. Paula, I saw that. And anyway, I just think that he most likely saw it in the military, and he mentions every race, and when he mentions lesbian. But I mean, I think there's other races that have went through the same thing, or like Paula said, being Jewish. But he snapped.
Right.
He snapped. That's true. Snapped. He couldn't deal with it. As far as being a whistleblower, I've been a whistleblower before, and I was ostracized for blowing the whistle, and eventually quit my job just because of it. I mean, they tried to give me a bad review. I had to take it to the top, and my numbers showed otherwise. But I blew the whistle, and even was transferred to another place in the corporation that I worked at. But it was like people there knew, and they knew what I had blown the whistle on. So it was like everyone didn't want to have anything to do with me. But it was a chance I was willing to take because they needed to know about what was going on.
Right.
And the corporation was glad that I brought light to this because they definitely didn't want this getting out what was going on.
Right.
But at the same time, they claimed that, there's going to be no retaliation. Well, they tried to retaliate with my review. And I took it to the top, and, because I wasn't going to sign it. And I'm just saying that he knew the risk he was taking with this.
Right.
But, I mean, with any whistle, you're either going to be like, what's her name, Silkwood,
right.
You can either have, death threats against you.
Right.
You could lose your job. I mean, there's, but it's like, I think he just snapped. I think just dealing with this, because it was 3 years ago when it happened. 3 years ago. And I think he couldn't let it go. He was not able to let it go and move on. He just held on to the rage for all these years.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Right. I think he snapped as well, kind of like in that movie Falling Down with Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
I think he snapped. Julie, what do you have to say about that? And let me ask you this: would it be any different if it was in the UK?
Well, I think obviously it's important to stick up for yourself, and internally, if you have a problem, like Deborah was saying, to sort it out. If you've been bullied or something, then to raise it with the appropriate people. And I think it's never been easier to do that because in the UK, at least, we have equal right laws and all those kinds of things, and employers are really concerned about employees being offended. Maybe it's even gone a bit too far because it's the correct sort of language, but I definitely think that it's good to protect people so that they can protect themselves against any bullying like that. But obviously, it's a completely different issue to then go around shooting other people for retribution. And in a way, I don't even understand why we're talking about that if those two things go together, because he's clearly mental. And I understand that he's being trained to kill people, which maybe there's a problem there in the first place. If you've been in the army and you've been a police officer and suddenly you've been told that it's okay to kill and suddenly you're back in civilian still, and maybe there's something that doesn't calculate and you don't realise that you can't go around killing people anymore. I don't know, I've never been in that situation, but yeah, he's clearly insane and obviously has snapped, as Deborah said, and that is something that needs to be addressed separately to people sticking up to bullying, I think.
Well, I did a lot of research on this, and I mean, I don't know how much you guys have done research on this, but I found this to be, like, very prevalent, and maybe not to this degree in our society, but maybe so to this degree in our society, because we suffer a lot of killings a day in our country, and I think a lot of it has to do with pressure and how easy it is. I mean, we're only human beings, and we can only really take so much, and sometimes we don't even know when enough is enough until, God forbid, something happens. Some people go to drugs, some people go to alcohol. I totally agree with Deborah that this guy just snapped, very much like in that movie that was almost 20 years ago, I think, at least, that Michael Douglas movie called Falling Down. And it is important to say that the LAPD is, I don't know if they're doing this to appease him or to get him to come in, or I don't know, but they're supposed to be really going over his complaints. And I am a former whistleblower, and I did get fired for it. And they not only took away my job, they took away my career. So the only thing I got is a sworn affidavit and a bunch of taped conversations and pictures to prove that I didn't do what they said I did. But in the meantime, I couldn't get a job as far as being a drugs counselor. Again, they took that away from me, and all I did was go to work on their watch and witness something that happened. So not only did it happen, something happen at the job, but they put me in danger to see it happen at the job, and then punished me when I said, yo, that's wrong. You know? So I know that stuff like that happens, and you might not deserve it at all. However, I never blew up the place that I used to work, you know, and Paula has her hand up.
Well, okay, this even begs a bigger issue, a bigger problem. It's such a shame that being a whistleblower is the minority these days. If everybody did the right thing, we would uncover all the poison and toxicity. I liked what Deborah said, because she's right. He snapped. He did. But the thing is, when somebody snaps, if you have it in you to snap and take human life, I think that you're not a stable person to begin with. Okay, I don't think you can handle things. But it's a damn shame. I mean, I give kudos to Deborah, because I know when she did that, she risked her job and she had kids to raise. I mean, if that's not courage, I don't know what is. You know, I mean, I've blown the whistle, but I don't have a family to support. And yeah, I've lost, you know, my livelihood because of that. And I wouldn't do it any other way, because I have to go to sleep at night. And you know what? I don't understand people that don't get involved. Look at the case of Kitty Genovese in the 70s, where about 16 people watched her get murdered, and they ignored it. I mean, it's crazy what's going on in this society. But you know what? He loves Obama, Dorner. I think Obama should hire him in his cabinet. I mean, he just appointed Chuck Hagel. This guy would be great. Maybe he can make him head of Homeland Security. My roommate Debbie would like to say something. So
okay. Welcome to Informants, Debbie.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me today. I just want to make a comment regarding, you know, people are, you know, I've been hearing that you guys have been saying, you know, we don't really know what happened, and that is the truth. But when you look at the manifesto that he wrote, it's 10 pages long, and I'm just wondering why he didn't go into more detail of what did happen. And maybe that's why the police are looking back into that to see exactly, you know, to review the file, because maybe he's not as crazy as we're saying, you know, because if he failed to mention exactly what happened and why he felt that he had to, you know, blow the whistle, then, you know, why didn't he communicate, you know, what exactly happened, what transpired between, you know, police force.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, so, I mean, because, you know, that manifesto, like I said, was very long, and it was like, all right, come on already, because, you know, he went over and over, and he repeated several things.
Yes, he did.
He even contradicted what he said. He did it.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Debbie, because Deborah had her hand up, but go ahead.
Well, at first he's for gun control, and then he goes into saying how he's going to blow everybody to pieces.
Right.
Right.
So, you know, I want to know, you know, all the facts before I really make a decision.
Well, it's clear to say that it's not normal to react in the way that he's reacting. I think we all could agree on that. That is not the way to handle a problem, obviously, right? But Deborah had her hand up. Deborah.
Well, to me, I agree with Debbie. It's like ramblings. It's like ramblings. I mean, it's like when you've ever been around someone who's upset.
Right. And that's the way I read that, actually.
And he's just rambling. It's not well thought out at all. And as far as like being stressed on the job, I mean, the average person, you know, when the boss pisses you off behind their back, you're talking to your coworker.
Right.
She's such a bitch, you know. I mean, that's what you do. Is you get with your coworkers
and you vent.
You go out for drinks afterward, and you're like, you know, you say these things, but you don't act on it. You
right.
just, you know, complain about it, you know, and get it off your chest, you know. So it's just, he didn't get it off his chest. He just let it brew and brew and brew inside him.
Well, I think that one of those reports was actually written in 2011, 3 years after he was fired. So I don't think that it was as old as we thought. I think he was expecting a different result in 2011. He didn't get that different result. and that just added fuel to the fire. It happened. So, go ahead, Paula. Paula has her hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I'd just like to make a little observation, okay, if I may. Deborah mentioned racism and how he went through a lot of racism. I get that. How that could put a chip on your shoulder and make you angry. I'll put a little spin on it, okay? I'm Jewish, and I grew up in Jewville, Skokie, Illinois, where, of course, I never faced anti-Semitism until I went to the Skokie March when the Nazis tried to march, and I realized that I was a target. And when we moved to Florida, I was 14 years old. My first year in high school down here, I was thrown against the lockers by a gang of black women, and they called me, "You Jew bitch kike, you should die in the gas chambers." I mean, they cut me, and I mean, it was like they harassed me every single day at school for being Jewish. And I have gone through a lot of anti-Semitism since I've been here in Florida, a lot of it. I've been called terrible names. I was harassed at my job for being Jewish and for being gay. And you know what? It sucks. It sucks that there's anti-Semites and racists out there. But you know what? You deal with it in a rational, diplomatic, legal way as best as you can. And let me tell you, there's this whole double standard of racism going on in this country. I noticed there's this, I don't know, this rapper that just came out and is praising Christopher Dorner. He's calling him, I think another follower called him the Black Rambo. I mean, come on, can you imagine? No, wait a minute. Can you imagine if Christopher Dorner was a white ex-cop and he was taking to the streets to kill black people? Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, there would be outrage. I mean, it's the double standard is ridiculous, and what I want to know is why isn't the FBI investigating this? Why is it just with the LAPD? This guy's a sniper. Come on. Why isn't the FBI and the Homeland say he's a domestic terrorist?
Well, I think that ultimately what's going to happen is that everybody's going to be involved in this, and I'm not too sure how it's going to end. Debbie, did you have any comment? Debbie Paul is Debbie. Debbie Paul is Debbie that's living with Paula.
No.
Okay. Deborah, do you have anything that you wanted to add to this?
No.
Julie, I know that we seem like odd creatures to you in this country. And perhaps we are. Maybe this is what gives us the bad name over there. But I can honestly say that ultimately, I think what's going to end up happening, if people continue to treat people in the way that they are, is that we're going to have a lot more of this. A lot more people are going to crack under pressure. I don't believe that this guy, I honestly do not believe that this guy had mental problems before this whole situation came about. And I do think that somebody should be accountable for breaking somebody, but I don't believe, again, I am not for going out and killing people. I don't agree with that.
And all of my exes should be accountable for making me mean.
No. I mean, you know what I mean?
I'm joking.
No, but eventually, it's like if somebody bullies you or pressures you, or, whatever, we all eventually snap. Whether it's to turn around and cuss them out. But we all, eventually you just say...
You have enough. You ultimately have enough.
Most of us don't grab a knife or a gun. We just turn around, and tell someone off. I mean, that's what people do, whether you're in a relationship or it's your next door neighbor or your kids, whoever. You just turn around and you're like, no more. I mean, it's just, he just took it too far.
It's funny. Yeah, you're right, Deborah. And it's funny you mentioned that because I was watching this movie yesterday about this woman that was in an abusive marriage and the husband just kept beating the crap out of her and she finally stabbed him to death over 193 times.
Well, that was a lot of frustration that she had to get out of her system, Paula. That's just the way it is.
I mean, I do, but I don't.
Well, here's the thing. Some people have the strength, I think, to leave and to detach themselves in a way to look at things objectively. But some people become, and the guy said that he was depressed. In his manifesto, he says that he's depressed. Somebody, listen, we want to say to people, pay attention to the elephant in the room. But nobody paid attention to this elephant in the room. It almost seems like they pushed him far enough to see what he'd do.
Yeah.
You know? Julie, you're very quiet. What do you have to say?
I'm just really amazed that this is going on, and I don't know. I don't know if it would happen here. I'm sure it would. I'm probably just romanticising the UK, but I can't think of a time it has happened when we have had the odd gun rampage, but it's like one a decade. It just seems, I don't know, looking from an outsider's point of view, America just seems to be getting more and more paranoid and violent.
And volatile. We're sure.
And the thing is, we're all responsible for the society that we live in. I'm not saying that it's your fault or anything that this is happening, obviously, but, you know, if we allow this to keep happening, then it's going to keep happening. And we need to find other ways of sorting out problems that we can start to have compassion for each other and start to not be so detached from people, so that when someone does have a problem, they have someone to talk to about it, rather than thinking, oh, I'm going to get a gun and blow everyone's head off, or write a 10-page rambling manifesto which is going to be on the internet. And you know, that's not a way to deal with people's problems. It's like we're very infantile still. We're still children in the playground, but we have actual weapons that can kill people.
Right.
And that's a real problem that needs to be sorted out. And we all have to sort it out. We can't just wait for the government to do that for us. You know,
Right.
we just sit around going, oh my God, they shouldn't be doing that. But I don't know what we can do.
Well, here's the thing.
We try to do something.
In this country, one of our favorite sayings is, that's not fair. That's not fair. Well, I got news for you. Life isn't fair. Life is just not fair. I was always told that, and it took a while for my idealistic ways to become realistic ways. And the truth of the matter is, things are just not fair, period. Hang on, Julie. Deborah had her hand up.
Well, I just noticed that we glorify the wrong things. I mean, if it's the badass behavior, people are sticking up for the person who is, you know, and whether it's in music or television or just, you know, your neighbor or your coworker, that's glorified. And to just, you look at a lot of the music, I mean, the way we talk in the music, it's just, what's his name? Luke, what is it? Fiasco, the guy, who wrote the song "Bitch." I mean, has anyone seen that video?
No, I'm not. I don't really care for rap.
Well, he's one of those the 98% people. Okay.
Okay.
And what do they call them? I can't think of what they're called. The protesters that are out there. And he wrote a song, and it's not to glorify it. He's basically to say that we use it in the wrong way. And he talks in the video how, like, if a woman is a bitch, that's a good thing. Whether it's being, you know, the strong woman who's raising her kid, a bitch, or whether it's, you know, for us to say, you know, I'll wear it proudly, or whether he's saying it's the video vixens and the young girls are seen to be a badass, you know, girl, you know, grinding and doing this, and it's in all the, I mean, it's not just rap, but it's, you know, it's just words like that. And it seems to be a badass is a good thing now, where at one time in polite society, that was not a good thing.
Right.
People didn't want to be around, and now people want to be around the one who acts that and acts up and has their head all swollen and stuff. We don't want to be around nice people who are spiritual and who want to do good. We don't want to be around them. We want to be around the people who have that persona, and that's something that's wrong, you know, in my opinion.
Okay. Julie has her hand up. Julie has something to say.
The way that I think the perception of Americans from UK point of view is that you're very individualistic and you have a bill of rights rather than, like, we have laws here that stop us from doing things. Well, they're supposed to stop people from doing things because there are consequences if we do things.
Right.
Whereas you have 10 or whatever it is rights to be in a certain way and to do things in a certain way. So we don't necessarily have that here. So I think that maybe the American sort of way of seeing things is like, that's my right to do that. I am an American citizen and I have the right to ... bear arms, whatever it is. And another way that we also see...
It's so true, though.
And another way that we see Americans is picking up what you said about it's not fair. And this is starting to come into the UK now, and I really don't like it, but it's this suing culture.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, often it used to be in the headlines, we'd have this is happening, you know, and we'd be like, oh, is that happening in America by any chance? You know, it'd be like somebody's fallen over and now they're suing their company, or somebody's child went mental in the supermarket and banged their head, and you know, now they're suing the supermarket and stuff like that. And it's starting to happen here, unfortunately. But I think it's so self-centered, and it's also me. What can I get out of this situation to satisfy myself? And it's horrible because it's detaching people from the community spirit, which is what actually makes for a happy society. It's just, you know, when you look at other cultures like Asian cultures, China and India, I'm not saying that they're happier or anything like that, but they seem to be more in tune with each other, and it's not all about me. It's about us as a society. How can we move forward and make a happy society? You know, whereas America, it's like, I want this, I want that, and I'm going to fight you if, you know, and it's not fair if I don't get it.
Well, you know, that's really, you know, you brought up some things that I'll say firsthand because I've heard them, and when I was younger, I said them. You know, and I do think that we are told that we're in the best country there is, and that we're the best people, you know, and that everybody's trying to get over to our country and live. And I got to tell you, I'm trying to get over to your country and live. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a country, isn't it?
I am too, Julie. I'm trying to get to the UK or Canada. I want out of here.
I think, you know, America, UK, Germany, France, we're all so lucky.
Wait a minute, the French suck. Go ahead. They're worse than us, in my opinion. They are worse than us. I think they're very self-centered.
We're also lucky to live in such wealthy and free societies, you know. But out of them all, I would say America and maybe France in Paris, perhaps. But America seems to be caving in on itself, like, oh,
we're imploding.
Like, yeah, you have this perfect opportunity. Because it is an amazing country. You have a lot of money. You have the right.
We don't have so much money anymore.
Yeah, I guess. But it's becoming very polarized. It's like the right wing and the liberals are just fighting with each other, whereas our politics is very. It's more about how can we get, you know, education, hospitals, and the society working.
It's more about for the country, isn't it?
Yeah, I think American politics is more about, you know, religion, and we don't want gay people, and, you know, it's like we're kind of over that here, and now we're getting on with being maybe more adult.
Okay, Paula had something to say, but hang on. Okay, so Paula had her hand up. Paula.
Well, you know, Julie, you make some really interesting points. But, like, look at our prison systems. Look at our penal system as opposed to other countries like Turkey or Iran. Here, you can murder somebody, and you're out in 6-7 years, and they think you can rehabilitate sex offenders, which to me is mind-boggling. It took Ted Bundy how many years to get executed?
A long time.
Do like they do in, okay, our prisons are country clubs where they get 3 hots and a cot, they get to go to college and earn degrees, they get free health insurance, they get cable TV, they live better than a lot of hardworking Americans. You know what? They should send them to Devil's Island or institute Turkish prisons here, and you'll see how the crime rate drops. And you know what? Another thing is we have too many. This country is too politically correct. I mean, Rudy Giuliani cleaned up New York because he did some things that were on the edge, and he had to, but it worked. Rahm Emanuel will never do that. Are you kidding me? He's a little crazy. I mean, look, I'm a reformed liberal, but he's so liberal that he's so afraid to piss off the criminals that it's ridiculous. They need Giuliani to just go around to all the cities with high crime and clean it up.
So, well, you know what, Paula, I agree with you. I've worked in the jail system, and, you know, I used to get everybody that would end up going to prison anyway. And I had said in the show before that they called the jail the Hilton in the city that I work, and they did. They had better. They had better. They were treated better than the average people that are just finding it very difficult to live. You know, I remember inmates that if they got out in the wintertime, they'd go across the street and throw a brick through the window. All right, so I heard that Debbie, who's to the left of Paula, had something to say. Don't think I didn't hear you, Debbie. You said you were going to say that. What is it that you were going to say?
No, I just wanted to add that if we, the jail cells here are also crowded because of, all these little misdemeanors like the marijuana, who are in jail. So if we were to legalize marijuana, it would clear the system. But it might also, make our country a little more mellow, like the UK is. So.
Well, I don't think it's legal to smoke in the UK. Julie, is it? It's not legal to smoke in the UK.
No, it's not. At the moment.
Now, I do know that if you get a ticket there, you get a ticket if you're smoking. You don't. Go ahead.
If you're smoking a joint, then they'll just tell you to throw it away. You wouldn't get arrested for it, but if you were dealing, if you had enough intent to deal, then you'd get arrested. But I don't think you'd get put in prison unless if you're smuggling it into the country. Obviously, that's
right. Well, the 2 times I went there, I didn't have the guts to bring it with me. I was scared to death. So when I do come in September, make sure that you grab a little bit and put it on the side for me.
I don't smoke.
No, you can find it. You have from now until September.
Won't take me that long.
Okay, well, put some aside for me.
Okay.
I'll claim it to your parents. All right, so here's the thing. I had asked a few people on the Facebook pages if anybody else would follow through with the way, how far would you go to clear your name? And some people said all the way. And Paula brought up a good point. There's a lot of people that are like, they're commending this guy. They're almost looking at him like a martyr, which he's not.
Right.
But, what heroes do we have to aspire to? In this day and age, where are the heroes that we have to aspire to, Paula? Where's our heroes?
Jolie, Madonna. I mean, there aren't, look, Lisa, in this country, we glorify football stars that get high and beat women and we glorify Lindsay Lohan.
Kill dogs.
Right,
Vic.
exactly. Michael Vick, who should be in prison.
Right.
He's a savage, okay? We glorify Lindsay Lohan or Paris Hilton, who's got the IQ of a speed bump, the two of them put together. But we don't glorify the unsung heroes. We don't glorify the good police officers or the good the firefighters. We don't glorify people like, my gosh, Martin Luther King. Nobody's talking about him, the youth of today. Nobody's talking about him. If there was a hero and somebody you should aspire to be, it's certainly somebody like Dr. King.
Okay, but what I'm asking you, wait, Julie has her hand up. Julie.
I was just going to ask you a question. Do you not still have a national holiday on his birthday?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Some companies don't recognize it. My last company didn't, and given how they were, I'm not surprised.
Oh, okay.
But here's the thing. I'm talking about who do we aspire to today? Not somebody who died years ago. Where are our heroes today?
Well, see, Lisa, when you say here,
What happened? I see that. Deborah's frozen too. No, she's not. Paula's frozen. All right, well, Paula's got to come back. Deborah, do you have anything to say, Deborah, about, where are the people that we aspire to today? Where are they, honestly?
I don't know. To me, it shouldn't be celebrities. It shouldn't be musicians or something like that. If the musician uses their celebrity for a good cause,
right,
that's completely different.
Right.
And if, someone who has, millions of dollars from playing sports and they give back somehow.
Right.
Instead of buying another house, if they somehow give back to society, because they can afford to. They can afford to give back, and do something, whether it's opening youth centers or, opening a soup kitchen to feed, feed the hungry. It's just that, to me, the modern day heroes are the ones who are in there feeding the hungry. The people who don't get noticed. The modern day hero is, I don't know, someone who rescues someone from drowning. I mean, things like that. And they get 5 minutes on the news, and it's kind of warm and fuzzy and everybody says, "Aw," but it's like they're forgotten.
Right.
If you do anything, and then it's like, there's people out there who are trying to make changes in the world, and it's kind of like, if you do I joke with Paula all the time, whenever I put anything warm and fuzzy on her Facebook page, no one comments. You put something radical, they go nuts.
Right.
And I joke with her once in a while, I'll say, here's another warm and fuzzy, because no one's going to say anything.
Right.
No one say anything that is positive or that should make you feel good inside. They don't care about that. They want drama. They want things that are gonna controversy. You want to hear about this person sleeping with that person, or what the new politician did, and oh my God, his wife found out he has a baby that's 18 years old. We don't glorify the right things, and that's something that's wrong with us. We should glorify the people who in 20 years they're still going to be talking about, who the books are going to be written about, and who are going to make you aspire to, I want to be like that person,
Right.
That make you want to be a better person. And we just don't do that. I don't see that.
Paula has her hand up. Paula.
Deborah, excellent point. You're right. But guys, I want to challenge you. Name one person that you aspire to be like right now. Now, I can name one, but he's not in this country. Benjamin Netanyahu and Naftali Bennett. I can't think of really anybody. Debbie, can you in this country offhand?
Well, like somebody well known or not? I mean, I
know people in my personal life, or but I can't think of anybody right now.
Controversial, and I know that just because we've had these conversations, and I admire people who decided to do something or follow something bigger than themselves.
Okay, well, Julie had her hand up. Julie was going to name somebody.
Yeah, well, I don't know what their names are, but we had the Olympics in the UK this summer.
Really?
Last summer. Yeah. And I know what you mean about football players, and I'm talking about soccer here, getting paid far too much money, because they do in Europe as well, and it's ridiculous. And also celebrities are given far too much airtime in newspapers, and it's always dragging them down. But this summer, the athletes for the Olympics, particularly for the Paralympics, were really shown to be heroes, very heroic people. In the media, there's about a month's worth of coverage in the media where these people were shown to be heroes and patriots, and it was really wonderful. They were interviewed with small children going, "Oh, I think they're amazing and I want to be like them." And obviously after the Olympics was finished, things went back to normal, and people cared about who Paris Hilton was sleeping with, unfortunately, and the fact that Kate Middleton was pregnant. But, there was just this amazing month where everyone was like, actually, it's really cool to be English, which is not normally something that we say. And, these people who have, just one leg, or an arm missing or something, and they can still aspire to be the best in their field, and then so can we, and it was a really beautiful time, actually.
I remember seeing all those Twitter feeds, and I agree, but we don't give enough coverage. Paula had her hand up.
Well, I can think of one athlete that I admire. I admire Tim Tebow.
Okay.
I really do. He's a good guy, and I like that he's not ashamed to hide his faith.
Right.
And that people mock him for that. And I say rock on, Tebow. But guys, seriously think about it. Can anybody on this panel name one person in the public eye that you really look up to and admire?
You know who I like?
Yeah.
I like Chris Christie. I was having
I like him too.
a conversation about Chris Christie, and I gotta say, this is the governor of New Jersey, Julie, and I saw that you had your hand up, so I will get to you as far as the answer to that question.
The people, that's all, so, probably won't have heard of them anyway.
Well, here's a mayor that, a governor of New Jersey. He's a heavy set guy. And he actually was on David Letterman. Do you get our David Letterman show? Do you know who David Letterman is? Okay, well, he's
probably better you don't.
He does a like a midnight talk show, which has been going on, for over 30 years, I believe. And anyway, Chris Christie is able to make light of the fact that he's so heavy. But I had put something on my Facebook page because there's rumor that there's rumbles that he's thinking about going for the presidency in 2016. Right now, I would totally vote for this guy. I see him on my news all the time. He is always on the side of New Jersey. So I think that he definitely is not a taker. He's more of a giver, and he definitely, has his state as his priority. And I think he's been a great governor. But somebody said to me, nobody would vote for him, Lisa, because he's so heavy, and if he can't take care of himself, how can he take care of this country? Well, he seems to take care of the whole fucking state very good as far as I'm concerned. I know he's a heavy-set guy, but the reality is nobody knows when somebody's coming or going on this planet. They only know when they're here now. So, if I had to pick somebody right now, I would definitely say that Chris Christie is somebody that I admire. Julie, I know a lot of UK people. Who do you admire?
I admire David Attenborough.
Okay, I know who that is.
Yeah, he's been giving us amazing wildlife documentaries for 50 years, and he's taught me a lot.
I've seen some of his documentaries.
Yeah, they're beautiful, so beautiful. And he's really, really into trying to save the environment as well. He's in his 80s now, and he's still campaigning, and he's amazing. And do you know Stephen Fry?
Yes, I love Stephen Fry. QI.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's really cool.
Kingdom.
He's very out, and he's just really funny and intelligent and very engaging guy. And I also really admire a guy called Professor Brian Cox, who is basically he's a quantum physicist. He's very actively involved in CERN.
Well, I don't know him, and I don't know. Okay.
Smashing in Geneva. And he is basically making science really cool. He's like a rock star. He's like, the guy in Jurassic Park, Ian Malcolm, the mathematician, the cool, what's that actor's name? The cool guy.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, anyway, him. He's like him, where he's really cool and he's making science very accessible and very cool, which is brilliant as far as I'm concerned, because we need that right now, because we need science more than ever. And also, I really admire Richard Dawkins, because I think he's done a lot as well. He's made it quite okay for you to say, hey, I'm an atheist, whereas before people were quite ashamed of that, I think.
I still think Ricky Gervais had something to do with that.
And Ricky Gervais, I don't know, I think Richard Dawkins has been around a bit longer than Ricky.
Yeah, but people listen to Ricky Gervais.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Richard Dawkins came along and maybe the older people listen to him perhaps, and then Ricky Gervais brings it to the younger people. And it's a lot of comedians like Eddie Izzard as well. He's really great. He's so funny and so intelligent. So there are a lot of amazing role models. I'm trying to think of a woman. Desperately trying to think of
Listen, I think Margaret Thatcher did a great job for your country, and I'm totally all for your fucking queen. I don't care what anybody says. That woman gave up her life and put her country first. And there's nobody that can deny that. I'm not saying she hasn't made mistakes, but she is definitely, and her family has come second to her country. So she's given all she can give. And it wasn't even hers to have. She took it on when her uncle gave it up after her dad died. And she was a young woman at 26 years old with a young family and gave it all away to basically run her country. And it gets me when people don't appreciate her, because if we had a president with 50% of her integrity and follow through, we might be in good shape. Paula had her hand up.
Well, I thought, okay, I really admire Ellen DeGeneres. Really admire her. She's one of my heroes. And I'll tell you, I loved Ed Koch. He would have been a great president.
Yep, I agree. Ed Koch, I was sorry to see him go.
Best. I love Rudy Giuliani. I'm a big fan of Marco Rubio's, and Ileana Ross-Layton. She rocks. So That's to name a few. But Deborah, I think you wanted to mention somebody, right?
Well, some of the people that I would talk about aren't living now. I mean, people that I admire. One of them is Gandhi. I look at someone who was an attorney, and he didn't have to get involved. He could have lived in his fancy house and did what he did, you know, and drove a fancy car, but he got involved in something. He didn't have to care about the little people, you know, the people who didn't have. I mean, and he did that. I look at Princess Diana. She didn't have to. He could have just pranced around and wore designer clothes, and she didn't have to worry about giving back to humanity.
He did quite a lot of that, though.
Wait a minute. Hang on 1 second. Julie's got something to say, but before... Okay, Julie, so somebody mentioned Princess Diana, and, go ahead. What do you have to say?
Well, Deborah was just saying that she didn't feel that Princess Diana had to do what she did in terms of the humanitarian stuff, which is true. She didn't have to do that. But she certainly did a lot of the other lifestyles as well, you know, wearing all the jewels and dresses and being a princess. And she really did court the press, you know. I know that people say that it was the press that murdered her by hounding her.
The paparazzi was responsible for her death. They hounded her.
But she brought attention to aid. And we needed that to happen. We needed to look at someone who has AIDS as, you know, not like a leper. And another person who did that is someone who was in South Florida, Ellen Buxton, the musician. I don't know if anyone knows her. She didn't have to. She could have let her husband's death. Her husband died of hemophiliac AIDS, and she could have just went on about her life. But she went on. And she's an activist for that. And I don't know if anyone knows her, but she also sang at the Democratic National Convention for the first election of Obama. And if you listen to any of her music, it's about politics. It's about doing better in humanity. She writes songs like they did in the 60s. And that's someone I admire because she could just go on with her graphic design business and, you know, not have to get involved. And she does get involved. Another person is Jimmy Carter. He doesn't have to do that. Don't you start on his presidency, Paula. I'm talking about the good that he does. He doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to worry about Habitat for Humanity and building homes for the poor. He could just go on about his life. And, you know, people don't have to do that. To anyone who does anything like that, they choose to. They want to leave something behind, and they care about something bigger than themselves and someone else. And we've had this debate, Paula. Malcolm X. I might not agree with what he did, but I admire the fact that he could have been some young thug who ended up in prison, and all of a sudden he saw that there was, you know, he could open his mind to something better. You know, you might not agree. I mean, there's different religions out there, but the fact that he looked at there could be something else instead of being another young man who committed a bunch of stabbings and robberies and ended up in jail and wasted his life. You know, I look at anyone out there who is willing to look at something that's going to be better than dying with a closet full of fancy clothes and a bunch of fancy cars, and they went on vacations. At the end of your life, when you're dying, when you're sitting there taking your last breath, you want somehow to feel like you mattered, you made a difference, you did something. Someone is going to remember you, and they're going to remember you more for things that you did. I think that's what life is about something that you do. Not about, you know, going on and crap like, you know, I mean, I don't know. I just get so irritated with people who all they think about in our society, especially American society, is shop, have stuff, possessions, or drinking and partying all the time.
It's exactly what Julie said, me. But Paula had her hand up.
Well, I just want to say I really admire Malcolm X, especially since, I mean, here's an example of, if you watch his progression in his life where he turned his complete belief system around. I mean, I think that's just amazing. I really admire him. But Jimmy Carter, I've got to say, Carter did more damage when he left the presidency than when he was there. He was probably our worst president. Probably even with Obama right now. They're both very, very similar. But Carter is such a vicious, Jew-hating anti-Semite who has dedicated his life after he left the presidency to vilifying Israel and just spreading all these lies and propaganda that The man makes me sick. And I give him kudos for Habitat of Humanity. I think that's.
And I mean, he's doing things like he's out there helping people in other countries with things like malaria. We don't have to worry about malaria here. I mean, just things like that, or worrying about, like, what is it?
I hope maybe it's because the mosquitoes are Jewish.
Ha ha. No, but I'm just saying he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to care about anything like that. People don't have to make that choice. They don't have to make that choice to get involved. And people, especially who are wealthy, who could lead a life of leisure, could be a Paris Hilton. Everybody could be a Paris Hilton, and they choose not to. They choose not to. They choose to get out there and make their name well known. You don't have to. We can have a whole society of wealthy Paris Hiltons who are running around not contributing anything, or Kim Kardashians, and they're famous for just being famous. They don't.
That's true. That's
true. It's like, and more people, I guarantee you, people can name the damn Kardashians before they can name anybody else.
That is true.
I can't name them. I don't like any of them. Paula had her hand up.
Well, I'll tell you something. Another person I really admire, this is probably my three leaders that I love the most and admire the most in my life, are Martin Luther King, Golda Meir, and Winston Churchill. And what I love about Churchill is he fought mental illness his entire life. He called it his black dog. And look what this man did. I mean, had he been at the helm during the Holocaust, it probably either never would have happened or it would have happened on a lesser scale.
Julie, what do you have to say about your former Prime Minister, Winston? I know he was around before you. What's your history? Wait a minute. Hang on. Does your history look back on Winston Churchill in a positive light? Has history been good to Winston Churchill? What are you guys saying?
Absolutely. I mean, he was very active in the First World War as well as the Second World War. As you probably know, he was very old in the Second World War. But yeah, we definitely look with great affection, admiration, and gratitude to him. I would say much more than the royal family myself. As you may have guessed, I'm not a great fan of the royal family. But yeah, definitely, he did some amazing things for us. And I think that probably he had great old-fashioned views, but then everyone did in those days.
Right. That's all there were old-fashioned views.
Yeah, they were quite normal views at the time.
Right.
And I suppose he became quite, maybe, like, you know, that his party, the Conservatives, didn't win the election after the Second World War, even though he did all that for the country. Because I think the environment after the war changed so quickly,
right.
You know, that people were just not interested in that sort of British hip-hop thing anymore. You know, we needed to change. The world needed to change in the UK. But yeah, very much. We admire him a lot.
Yeah, I liked Winston Churchill on the things that I saw, but I gotta say that, you know, I was a fan of Margaret Thatcher. I remember that you know, we were very far, especially at that time when Margaret Thatcher was more or less running your country.
She was running the country.
Well,
Queen doesn't do anything.
More or less running your country, because that keeps me in the clear here. I know what I'm saying, but
Do you think I'm gonna get arrested for treason?
They can't come and get me. I'm not saying anything wrong, but I remember I went over there for the first time during the time that Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister, and I remember thinking, wow, how advanced could they be? We are so far away from having any female in any kind of leadership in this country. And I was well impressed that you guys saw beyond the sexes, and, you know, Margaret Thatcher was in office, and then she remained in office for quite a bit of time. So, I mean, I'm all for that, because this is the closest, honestly, that we've ever come to. I mean, with the exception of Josephine Ferrero, who was running for Geraldine, right?
Yeah.
But and then, you know, we got Hillary Clinton, who's
Hillary has a penis, so I don't know if she's really a woman.
Anyway, so she's pretty, high up in our government. And I think that before I die, I will see a woman president. But it was 30 years ago that you had a female prime minister, and she was taken pretty fucking seriously. Now, however, I would not want to get on her bad side, because she probably had more balls or bollocks than any of the males.
She had ovaries and tails.
And she was known as the woman with the iron fist, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does your country look at her now?
Well,
not in the same light as Winston we know.
So for me, I was born in 1977, and Margaret Thatcher became Prime Minister in 79.
Right.
So I always had that the Prime Minister was a woman when I was growing up, because she was Prime Minister for the next 12 years.
Right.
And I just assumed that the Prime Minister was a woman, so that's a pretty cool thing to have put into your brain.
Yeah, because you think you can aspire to that.
Absolutely, I didn't even know that you could be a man and be the Prime Minister. It's just
criteria of the job is you have to be a woman.
Yeah, exactly. But she unfortunately became less and less popular. She wasn't very popular at all with the working classes, because she was closing down the coal mines and the union. She really christened the union at the time. And now we have, her legacy still exists now. We have such a different world in the UK now, thanks to her, because she basically got rid of all the industry. She sold us all the public utilities, like the electricity and trains and everything like that. She sold them off. So now we don't have any national things like that. So it became a very sort of capitalist country to live in. But yeah, I think people do have mixed feelings about her. The general view is that she was a politician, a conservative first, and then she was a woman afterwards, if you see what I mean. So I guess for her to have been Prime Minister at that time, when there was still a lot of sexism around, she had to be something really special.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
so does the country look upon her now in favor or not?
Well, I think the newspapers always will try to drag her down. When her husband died a few years ago, and the papers showed close-ups of her on the front pages of her crying, as if that was a weird thing. She was like at her husband's funeral, and they were like, "Oh, Margaret Thatcher crying," and I was like, leave her alone.
I mean, she is a woman.
A widow. It's actually the person,
Right.
Right. So maybe that's just the media. I think people.
You guys are becoming American more and more.
I think our tabloid newspapers have always been really bad, though, haven't they? They're quite known for that. But yeah, I think retrospectively, people look back on her maybe with a bit of affection. She's probably very out of fashion now. She thought homosexuality was immoral and didn't mind saying that, but maybe that was quite normal for people to think that of her age at the time. If a politician said that now, they'd have to step down.
Absolutely. You can't be divided or have any kind of prejudice like that. Deborah Covington, are you still with us?
Yes.
Is there anything that you...
Well, I mean, another person, it's someone that probably I like to watch documentaries and read books that a lot of people wouldn't find interesting, but there was a documentary I watched a few months back, and I told Paula about it. The guy's name is Daniel Goldhagen. I don't know if anyone's heard of him, but his book made a profound effect on me, and I consider him a modern-day hero. His book is about genocide.
Uh-huh.
It talks about the genocide that has happened in the past and still goes on, but he brought a light to it, because the genocide right now is, it's the greatest scourge that we have on humankind right now, on humanity, is, that there's countries right now where people are being slaughtered. And, it's like there's things, he brought attention to people like Idi Amin, he brought attention to Darfur, and he interviewed
some of these people. And I look at him as a hero that dared to go and interview these people. And he's a Harvard PhD.
Right.
And he wanted people to know this is going on. It's not the past. It's still going on today. And why aren't we stopping it?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what I think, and you're not gonna like my answer, but I'm not gonna be dishonest, and I'm not doing this for the popularity of the show, obviously, because I've said this before, and I'm gonna say it again. Deborah, I feel horrible when I look to the other countries and I get the commercials on the TV of the children dying of starvation and of the pollution in other countries and of the massacres that are going on around the world. And Julie actually has brought things to light as well. But here's my feeling. The United States of America is so... We're in so much trouble as far as violence goes, as far as surviving goes, as far as our economy goes, that I don't feel safe in certain parts of our country. I live in New York, and there are people that are suffering still because of Hurricane Sandy, and I don't live in a third world country. Those people had a lot of money once upon a time, or they had houses that were handed down to them through generations, and in the meantime now they don't have a place to live, they don't have food, they don't have anything. They have a place that they can go and get shelter, but forget that they worked all these years with insurance, and what happened with Hurricane Sandy, and those people have lost their homes. We have so much in this country that we need to take care of with Americans that I feel bad for the other countries, and I do. But I know the reality is we got to fix ourselves first. If somebody came into my house and told me, listen, you should actually vacuum your floors every day because you have pets. And if I walked over to their house and their house was a fucking mess, I don't want to hear them tell me what my house should look like. Same way.
There are people being killed for nothing.
But there are people being killed here for nothing. There are people being killed in our country for nothing.
We ignored Hitler, and look what happened. We ignored Hitler because no one wanted to get involved, and look what happened. And it wasn't just the Jewish people.
I'm familiar.
The Russian. It was the Gypsies. And it's like, what does that show about us as a humanity to watch people being deprived of basic human rights and do nothing? Yes, we need to fix it in America, but the world needs to come together.
Yeah, but we're not. But I don't think that the United States needs to be the one all the time to be expected.
I'm not saying that we need to be the world's policeman. I never once said that. We're talking about people who we consider a modern day hero, and the fact that not only did he write the book, but he went out and interviewed these people. Can you imagine sitting across from somebody who has murdered 200,000 people, and you have to keep a straight face and you can't show rage?
Who are we talking about?
I'm just saying that I'm not saying that we need to be the world's police officers. It's the world that needs to stop this. It's everyone that needs to stop this. I mean, and I don't want to hear I was doing my job. I don't want to hear one more soldier in another country say I was doing my job. There comes a point when someone needs to say no. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I mean, you can't sit there and keep following orders. You can't follow orders. You have to at one point say no. And if I'm risking my life to say no, I will not kill someone for an unnecessary reason. I mean, we have to, as a society, say no. That's what I'm saying. Like I said, the Holocaust, how many people had to die before we got up and got involved? How many people have to die? And anyone who's willing to bring a light to that. And it's not just hunger. We look at people like Bono. He cares about hunger and he cares about AIDS. That's good. But until we stop killing each other, you know what? Hunger doesn't matter. We need to stop killing each other. And I could consider what goes on in America a genocide too. I mean, that's a genocide to me, to look at youth killing youth. I mean, the young girl who just was killed in Chicago.
Right.
That went, it's youth. There's genocide going on here.
That's the point that I'm making is that
all over the world. It's not just here.
Oh, I agree. But I think before we go and help others, we need to help ourselves, and we.
When is the world going to wake up and realize it's wrong? That's what I'm saying.
But Lisa,
and what are we going to tell our great grandchildren one day? Because I'm going to have them. Okay, I have children, and what am I going to tell them one day that I didn't give a damn? You know what? It didn't matter to me. It wasn't my country, so I don't need to get involved. I don't need to care. I don't need to do anything. I don't need to contact my congressman. I don't need to care about anything that's not bigger than me. I need to go shopping at the mall and get a new $300 handbag. That matters more than caring about society. I need to sit on TV and watch reality TV and care about this. I don't want to know about that because I don't want that stuff in my head. How can I tell them that one day? That I didn't want that in my head. That I didn't want to get involved. That you somehow... And I'm somebody who does write letters. And I am someone who goes on us.gov and I sign those petitions. You only need 2,500 signatures to get the government to look at it. That's all you need. And I'm someone who does care.
Right.
I mean, to me, that's important. And that's what I taught my children.
Right.
That is the thing I can say. I taught them that you have to do right. My daughter I'm not going to say the corporation, but she was offered a scholarship by a corporation. She just graduated from college, got a 4-year degree, and she could go on and get her master's, and she said no because of who offered it to her. Because she said, you know what? I'm principled. I can't accept their money because of what this corporation's doing. And I admire her because I'm thinking, like, you listen.
Right.
You listen to, and that's what I think we need to do. It starts with teaching your children, teaching your neighbor's children. When your coworker says something that you don't like or you know is wrong, just speak up and make them think about what they're saying. No matter, we can't keep acting like it's okay. You know what? Sometimes you have to risk all. And I'm really, I don't know, you don't know me that well, Lisa, but I risk all. I open my mouth to my family. I open my mouth to my coworkers. When I see someone saying something, I'm like, that's not right.
Right.
That's not right. And I know I can't go over there and change these other countries where people are being beheaded, but the fact that I can tell someone who thinks that it doesn't matter or it's not, you know what? You can tell them, yes, it does. And it doesn't have to be just murder. It could be gay rights. I have someone at my job who Paula knows about that I got onto several times, always running her mouth about this and about that. And we deal with the public. And I kept telling her, you don't know who they are.
Right.
You don't know who they are. You need to keep your mouth shut. And one day she made a comment when we came in talking about 2 women that were kissing outside our business and came in, oh, that's gross, that's disgusting, as she's clocking in like a few minutes after me.
Right.
And I turned and I told her, who I corrected many times, I said, our company doesn't have a problem with that. I said, they have domestic partner benefits, so you're on the clock now, let it go. She sat there for a few minutes and didn't say anything. Then she turned around and tried to throw a religious stance in it. Well, Jesus doesn't approve of it. And I turned around and I told her, unless Jesus is going to pay your bill, you need to be quiet. But he's not, and it's just people, you need to point out to people when they're doing wrong. When they're doing wrong, when they're saying wrong. We can't just sit here and say, oh, she's an idiot. You can't sit there and say, oh, that's my family member, I won't be invited to Thanksgiving dinner. When you see people doing wrong, and whether it's children in your neighborhood or someone at the store, whether they're bashing a cashier, you need to let people know, no, you're wrong, and I'm not going to sit here and watch you do it. I mean, that's what I'm saying as a society. Until we stand up to people who are doing wrong. And I admire people who do that. And
Right.
dare to go be an Anderson Cooper and stand out there where they can get killed, or whether they write a book about it and hope someone buys their book and it changes. A book can change someone's life. Having a conversation with someone who's got a swastika tattooed on their hand, and making them feel a little ashamed, questioning them.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. It's the 80-year-old woman who can influence a 17-year-old. That's what I'm saying. We have to care about something that's bigger than ourselves, or we're all going to go to shit one day. Society is just going to go to shit unless we stand up for little things, because little things lead to bigger things. So I'm not saying we have to be the world's police officers. I'm not saying that, we can't worry about these other countries. It's just starting here. Just starting in your home, starting in your neighborhood.
Absolutely. That's the only thing that you can do. Is that's the only thing that you can do, in my opinion, is you start at home, you have a good home, and hopefully the good home seeps out to help making the neighborhood a good neighborhood. And then it seeps out further to the community. And then it seeps out further to the state and to this country. But we definitely have to start at home with what's good, and by teaching. You know, okay, so over here, the two Van Dams have something to say. Debbie, who's next to Paula?
Okay. You know, I agree with what you're saying, Lisa. However, in the political realm, we don't necessarily give money because we're good people. We give money for political reasons.
I don't give the political people any money. I don't pay a dime for politics.
Well, not you personally, but us, you know, as a country.
Well, wait a minute. Wait, I have to say something about that. Okay. We give billions of dollars to our enemies. Billions to Iran. Billions to, you know, I mean, billions and billions of dollars. Number one, it doesn't get to the people. It gets, you know, sequestered by the bad guys.
Yeah.
Why are we giving our goddamn enemies aid? Okay, and by the way, our president, Barack Obama, is giving so much aid, more than any other president, to the Palestinians who are killing Israelis. It's crazy. And you know what? I mean, look, Lisa, I agree with you in the fact that we've got to clean up our own shop first. I mean, I'm all for, I hate Ron Paul, but when he said, you know, cut off aid to Israel even. I mean, that's our ally, but first, clean up our own house. First, then start helping everybody out.
Well, we're so far out of control that that's never going to happen, in my opinion, until we end it all and start again. That's
yeah,
what.
What do you mean end it all? Like the world blows up?
I mean, ultimately, we're going to end up taking our own lives by our own stupidity.
Lisa, let me tell you something. I really believe. I mean, I used to be this altruistic, you know, kumbaya singing liberal, and let's all get along, and I wrote songs about unity and inclusion. And you know what? My gosh, if families hate each other, if families can't get along, siblings and mother and child, why are we expecting the world to get along? We can't even get along with our friends. We can't even get along with our parents. We can't get along with the stranger at the grocery store. This world is so full of hatred and anger that it's spiraling. And you know what? Now that the maniacs have nukes, I guarantee, boom! And you know what? We'll start over.
Well, that's what I just said. I mean, basically, that's what I just said.
I know you did. Here, let me tell you something. We call human beings human, and we call animals animals. I have a dog. My dog is unconditional love. He wants food and to be pet. That's it. Animals only kill for necessity. They don't judge the other lions or the tigers. They're not making fun of them for carrying the wrong purse or dressing for goodwill. Humans, man against man, is the worst atrocity you will ever find.
Okay. I know, Deb. Go ahead, Debbie.
I still am kumbaya. I still believe there is good in the world. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to stand up, because you know me, Paula. I will stand up. But I still believe there's good in the world. And I'm not going to give up on us. I am not going to give up on us. I still think there's good in the world. And I think that you can lead by example. I think by showing other people, you know, my example, just me by myself, I think that I can make a difference. And sometimes you don't even know you're making a difference.
I agree.
There's someone in your life who you came across, whether it's someone who saw you doing something nice in a parking lot, a grocery store, or a coworker who you made an impact on, and you never know that you made an impact on. So I still believe there's good in the world, and I still think that we can make a difference. I'm not going to give up, and I'm not going to wait for it to start all over again. I think we can fix what's here, and I hope to see a better world in my lifetime. I hope to leave it better when I die than when I found it. I'm still kumbaya, and I'm going to die kumbaya.
Okay, Paula has her hands up.
And here's the I live my life, even though I've had life beat the living crap out of me, and no good deed goes unpunished. And every time you go out for, help somebody, you have them return the favors with knives. But here's the thing: I still live my life in servitude. I'm always helping, and I'm always going above and beyond. And I don't just do it on a local level. Every single day, I write songs and blogs, and I write Congress and Senate, and I'm active because, you know what, I don't know any other way to be. My parents, as soon as I could walk, they were taking us to charity events and fundraisers. I don't know any other way to be. I'm a pessimistic optimist, a happy cynic, whatever you want to call me. Of course you can't give up. If you give up, I mean, that's just insane. But the point is, I am speaking in reality. Okay, it's reality. Reality is that what's going on in this world are people are just wanting to kill each other for a little piece of land or a better zip code, or, I mean, it's just crazy.
Or a jacket, or a pair of tennis shoes. Julie, what do you have to say? What? You're listening to three Americans basically say, we have problems. We have problems. You're seeing...
It's not America, it's the world.
You're seeing people literally, very disenchanted. This is real. You got Deborah who's saying, Kumbaya, I believe I can do this. I believe... Hey, listen, I believe, Deborah, that when people come into your life and the paths that you cross, that you can make a positive input on them. And if you can do something on a bigger scale, by all means, please do it. Because yes, as a country, we need it. Unfortunately, you are the minority. Paula is the minority. We are the country that wants what we want when we want it. We want what everybody else has. We're more, we find joy, unfortunately, in somebody else's sorrow. That's what I think is wrong with our country. And I don't know if it comes from the people that are on TV, that are only on TV because they have a certain last name, not because they have any kind of talent. I think that we have definitely put that priority in this country in the wrong place. We have that attitude that Julie was talking about, that apparently we're known for in other countries. And I'll be damned if I'll turn around and say it's not true when it's true. So Julie, you're not in this country. You don't have a lot, but it looks like, you guys might be going that way. I hope you don't. But what's the attitude? What's the normal English attitude? Because I think it's you guys that we kind of look at and say, stiff upper lip, keep calm, carry on. They never cry. They don't show emotion. They don't have any kind of feeling. And I know the truth about your country because I've spent time over there. And I spent a lot of time reading your guys' newspaper, following Twitters from the people that are in your parliament, because I think you got something better over there than what we've done over here. And that's clear. Sorry, that's clear. The murder rate in the UK is not what we have here. There is something wrong with what's going on here. But Julie, go ahead. What do you have to say about it?
I think that we're all human beings. It's not just my opinion, obviously we are all human beings.
That could be your opinion. Some people don't believe that.
And it doesn't matter which country you live in or where you come from or your cultural background, every single human being will always have some problems in their life because we have bodies that are in pain a lot of the time, and we have hunger and we have desires, and we have minds that are generally in a mess. We have anger, we have attachment to things, wanting people not living up to our expectations. You can have the perfect conditions, but don't have a peaceful mind, then you'll have problems in your life. It's as simple as that. And I totally agree with what Deborah's saying, that you have to be the change that you want to see in the world. And you have to deal with your own problems. And you know, I will always have problems in my life because I'm a human being and I accept that. And sometimes I'll feel sad and sometimes I'll feel angry and I'll get on with my life and help other people the best I can. And I don't think that's a general British attitude, really. I think we love complaining, actually, in the UK, and not doing a lot to change things. You know, we're always moaning about stuff. We're quite miserable, really. If you've ever listened to the Smiths, then you'll know what I'm talking about. So I think that you have to cultivate an optimistic attitude. And I think, actually, as human beings, we're quite good at that because we've needed that for survival purposes
Exactly.
for the last 10,000 years. Because most of our existence, we've had death around us, suffering, disease, child mortality, you know, all these kinds of things. Yet we've kept going. And no matter what happens now or in the future, it's going to be pretty bad. Global warming is happening, it's fact, and the future is going to get worse and worse. And I am an optimistic person saying that. And so we're going to have to make the most of it and try and get on the best we can and help each other because we are all interconnected as a world. You know, who makes your coffee? Who makes your tea? Who gives you sugar? Those really simple things come from other countries, people working in terrible conditions, you know. They still have slave labour in some African countries, and they're the people that are providing a lot of your things that you take for granted. You might make a cup of tea and then chuck it away because it's gone cold. Somebody sweated blood for that for you, you know, and how can you be that dismissive about people when we need people? And I think it's about education because most of us don't even realise that other people are doing that for us, you know. So I guess shows like this, people taking control, like you're saying, Deborah, and Paula, getting out there and educating people. And you know what Mark Twain says? If you want to cheer yourself up, try and cheer someone else up. And it's true. Take the onus off of you and your own problems and try and help other people and you'll have a happy and fulfilled life.
Okay, well, Paula had her hand up because I don't think she believes you. Paula.
Well, no. I mean, honestly, there's people that talk the talk and people that walk the walk, and I despise people that talk the talk. I have a Facebook friend that writes how she pays it forward and how she, you know, leaves money for people haphazardly, and how she's Gandhi combined with Mother Teresa. And you know what, Lisa, I know lots of people. I'm very gregarious, and I know tons of people. And I can count on maybe my pinky, one person I know that really walks the walk. Okay? We can all brag about how great we are. I want to tell you about my friend Ref. Okay? There was a woman in our community that had cancer, terminal cancer. She was dying, and she had no place to live. She had no place to go, nobody to care for her. Now, my friend Ref didn't even know her. She was a stranger. My friend Ref took her in. She took her in. She clothed her. She fed her. She changed her dirty diapers, and she did this for months while the woman was ravaged with cancer and eventually died. Ref never will take a compliment. When we had her memorial service, she didn't even want to speak. She was so, you know, she's so humble. But we made her. If you tell her what a great person she is, she won't accept the compliment. She's humble. She'll never brag about what she does, but she's behind the scenes. She's in her mid-70s, and she's always helping everybody out. She's driving people to chemo appointments. She's one of, you want to talk about looking up to somebody? That's who I look up to. Somebody who does charity and service quietly. Because that in the Jewish religion, there's something, the highest form of charity is doing it anonymously. So nobody knows about it. Because, you know, a lot of people do charity because they want to feel good about themselves and pat themselves on the back. You know what I mean? So if everybody was like Ref, this world would be a better place.
I like Ruffy. I don't know Ruffy, but I only know her from our Facebook page, and she's a friend on my Facebook wall. I love her. She only has the positive things to say, and she has no problem saying I don't understand something. Julie had her hand up.
I do agree with you, Paula, what you're saying, that it's really important to do beautiful things for each other, as you're saying Rex did. But I think that without bragging about it, it's important to tell other people what you've done, because that might inspire them.
Yeah.
Because what you just said that Ref did and what Deborah said that she's been doing.
But we all saw it, Julie. We all, hundreds of women saw it.
And hopefully people will understand. I would think that if you get on our Facebook wall, and if you have enough sense to check us out individually, because we keep our names up, and you can see that, listen, I haven't, since I've started the show, I've had a lot of requests from people I don't know to be their friend on Facebook. And I've accepted their friendship because some of them end up being from this wall. So, listen, this show was actually made with the idea of putting positive stuff out there and giving people a place to vent and speak without any kind of repercussions. The fact that nobody uses the wall for that, I don't know, But, we can only do what we can do as far as this page goes. Ref is a fan of this show, and I can see what type of person Refy was just from the things she would say to me on my own Facebook wall. She's the one that always takes the time to like everything just because she wants you to know she saw it, And listen, that's a little thing. She does obviously a lot more, but that little thing doesn't. Listen, we all want to be flattered. We all want to know that we're not wasting our time. We all want to know what we're doing matters. We all want to be recognized as an individual. You said something about Americans individualistic, I'm saying I agree with that. I don't want to be a face in the crowd. I want to be known for something that I did. Hopefully for something that I did that was positive, because I've done a lot more positive than I have negative.
But Lisa,
yeah.
Lisa, there's something wrong when in my circle of people, and I know hundreds, that the only two schmucks that are writing Congress and Senate are me and Deborah. Okay? We're the only two that get out there and try to make a difference.
Why do you say that? I think that, what about, wait a minute, Brian, I want to say that Brian Meadows.
Yeah, okay, I'm not, right, I know, and Debbie does volunteer work for animal rights. I'm not saying that.
And so does Jenny Reed. And Tina does stuff for animal rights and stuff. Listen, Paula, I do stuff too, but I'm not going to broadcast it. That's not what this show is about. You know what I'm saying? I think that, I'm not going to bitch at anybody that doesn't follow through with what it is that they're going to do. I'm not going to do it. This isn't what this show's about. You should do, be honest with yourself. Be kind to other people. And if everybody did that, we would all live in a better world.
Right.
The way Deborah has her hand up.
I look at it like, not everyone, to me, right now in my life, and it's been this way for a couple of years, I think I am more selfish than I've ever been. And it's mainly because in 2009, my third child left home. And I looked at it like it's me time. I'm going to do things, for me, because I did the Girl Scouts, I did the soccer mom stuff, I did the bake sales. And to me, I'm like, right now, but it doesn't change who I am inside. The times in my life when I've been the worst version of myself, and it's usually been like when I'm nasty to someone or something, I'm ashamed of that. I'm ashamed of that. And there's one person in my life who, an ex-relationship, and it didn't end well, but I remember apologizing to this person, and I said, even though things didn't work out, I'm thinking in my mind, and I never want to be with you again, I apologize for being the worst version of myself with them, because things got so bad between us that I'm ashamed of what I said
right.
And how I behaved and being angry. So I look at it, even if you're kind to someone, or, are nice to someone, or just try to do, basic human things. If you're helping someone who drops something, helping someone lift something heavy,
helping an older person open up a door, helping an older person close the door that they can't reach.
And what Paula said to make you feel good, it does make me feel good.
Absolutely.
I could have walked by and not helped. I could have not held the door for that elderly person. I could not have helped her. Would you like some help getting this to your car? But I'm thinking when I did it, I kind of looked at it like, wow, I didn't walk by, because later on, I would have wondered, like, that was kind of selfish of me, So doing little things like that, or making time for someone. I mean, whatever it is, I think inside there's nothing wrong with kind of feeling a little better rather than feeling, I don't know, like you don't do anything. I mean,
exactly. We have to feel connected in this world to survive. I heard it from you, Julie. I got that message, Julie.
Wait, Lisa.
Go ahead, Paula. You're on. You're on the big
I'll
screen.
tell you what Deborah used to do at her old job in the heat. She used to bring all the valet workers little cups of ice and water. And she did this on her own time. All the time she would do this, okay?
Right.
Can you imagine? Now, let me tell you what happened. I was at Publix the other day, and I had just had some very painful nerve blocks done, a procedure. And I brought my groceries out, and I was ready to load them in the car, and I looked next to me, and there's this woman, this stranger, who had unloaded my groceries for me. And I looked at her like, and she said, I just want to help. And I said, wow, thank you. I mean, I was so touched.
That was in Florida? What part of Florida? I don't believe it.
I know. Shocking. I said to her, you must not be from down here. She goes, no, I'm on vacation.
Right, there you go.
Nice people in
She's
Florida.
from, and Lisa, guess what? She was from the Midwest.
I believe it. I
Yeah.
believe it.
There are nice people in Florida.
No, Debbie, you're wrong, Deborah.
My friend Orestes is one of the kindest people that I know. He is one of the and if I called him right now and needed something or wanted something, he would do it. My friend Judy is one of the kindest people that I know.
That's
I
good.
mean, there are good people in Florida.
Well, my friends rock, so I mean,
Well, there are good people everywhere, aren't there?
They're all from New York, okay? My friend JR would do anything. She's one of the best people I know. I love her dearly, but she's from New York.
You can be from anywhere and be a good person.
Exactly. Debbie, you had something you wanted to say?
Yeah, no, I just want to say I do agree with Deborah Covington. Because one person can make a whole lot of difference, and there's actually a book out on that. It tells how one person with just one thought or one small thing that they do can have the ripple effect.
Like the pay it forward, right? The pay it forward theory.
Exactly.
And I actually have to say, Lisa, Deborah has helped me become unjaded.
Okay.
So I have to give her kudos because I was at the point where
She's
I
a
was
miracle worker.
Well, I mean, she
It's
really
just
has. She's
Paula
like,
can be very cynical.
I know Paula.
Yeah.
I know Paula. Go ahead, Julie. You had something to say. You didn't believe that, Julie? I know. I'm joking. Go ahead, Paula.
no, I was just saying that, you meet people in your life that put a mirror up to you, and Deborah's not afraid when I act like an idiot to tell me. And I mean, I don't have friends in my life that kiss my butt. I don't want that. If I'm acting like a butthead, you better tell me I'm acting like a butthead. Get moved. Okay? You better tell me I'm acting like a butthead, because how else am I going to know, and how else am I going to grow? So if I act like a butthead, they tell me. And Deborah tells me loudly.
Okay.
And I applaud her for that because, it's helped me see things in a different way, and it's helped me grow and become a better person. So, it takes a strong person to stand up to an enemy and a stronger one to stand up to a friend.
Oh, exactly. Exactly it does. Well, Deborah, that was kudos to you, Deborah Covington.
Oh, thank you for the compliment, Paula. But she's good for me too. She's good for me. I just won't let her be negative Nelly all the time.
I'm not negative. I'm not negative. I'm just a cynic.
Okay. Well, I'm ready to end the show for the week. It's already 5 o'clock, which makes it 10 o'clock Julie Farrell's time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Julie's in the UK. They know what's going on 5 hours ahead of us. But I would like to thank everybody who joined the show this week, and we hope to see you guys next week, along with Tina, who, I don't know what's going on with my Aunt Tina, but Tina, come back. Anyway, we thank Paula and Debbie.
Come back.
We thank Julie, and we thank Deborah. So if we could all say goodbye, then I'll cut off the show. And everybody stay with me, though. Goodbye.
Goodbye.